1874 Preview Show.
Hello and welcome to 1874. It's time for a preview show. It's the final day of the Premier League season. All the games kicking off concurrently. What a great word that was from me. And it's Crystal Palace against Aston Villa, who don't have anything to play for anymore on the last day because we've already qualified for the Champions League. This show is sponsored by Luke Roper. If you want to get 20% off everything that Luke has to offer, then use the code TVV20 and you'll get 20% off what I've just said. I'm your host, Dan Bardell, joined by the Athletics Aston Villa correspondent, Jacob Tanswell, to preview the game. Jacob, it's been a hell of a season, and you were at Unai Emery's press conference yesterday, and you've informed me he was in a very good mood.
He was, yeah, and I think he loosened the straitjacket he's been in. Obviously, he's a very methodical, very focused individual, but I think given that he's achieved this, even he allowed himself to give himself a little bit of leeway and just enjoy what's been obviously a fantastic week for Villa, qualifying for the Champions League, but also to use his final press conference as a way just of getting an insight into his personality and being a bit more laid back. He shook all the journalists' hands at the end. He and Damian Vidagani said, "You're now Champions League media," with laughs, and he was in a really good mood. He admitted he enjoyed himself on Tuesday night, let himself go a little bit, but at the same time, Wednesday he said he was already back focused on next season. Really good insights. He was talking about FFP, how Villa aren't going to sign a lot of players, and when asked for his favourite moment of the season, he said Nottingham Forest away, because he believed more they get in the top four after that. So that's quite nostalgic.
I can say to Unai, that definitely wasn't my favourite moment of the season. I was at that game and I would have put at least 150 moments, I think, ahead of that game. Caught out as being a little bit of a liar, Unai Emery, this week, Jacob, because he kind of said after in the awards dinner that Champions League was our ambition, we achieved our objective. But I think he's been saying all season that we weren't aiming for the Champions League, so caught out with a little bit of a lie there.
That's the thing. He said after Nottingham Forest game, he said we can still get into the Champions League if we just follow Tottenham. If we in and around where Tottenham are, we'll be in a good position. And bear in mind, every week for about 15 weeks, I've been asking Unai, are Aston Villa contenders? And he always say the same thing. There are 7 more contenders better than us, etc., etc. But it was always understood within Villa, they saw this as a really good opportunity to get top 4. How Man United have fallen away. Tottenham are obviously going through a transition in their first season. Chelsea were a bag of cement in the early part of the season. This was a really good opportunity for Villa, and there was a belief from Emery that they would get it and they would try to get it. And I think, as he said yesterday, that not having that 5th place kind of sharpened his focus, because he knew what the job was and what the criteria was. So, yeah, although he won't say things publicly, deep down we knew top 4 was an ambition.
Yeah, he took the shackles off himself, hasn't he? Now we've qualified for the for the Champions League, and it's great to see how happy he is because he deserves it. A phenomenal manager, phenomenal achievement. We did a pod with Chad on the Villa Forever podcast the other week, and we spoke about this was your first season covering Villa. I mean, we got rid of that Greg Evans and qualified for the Champions League immediately, and a new journalist stewardship, Jacob. I mean, it's going to be phenomenal next season, is it for you? Covering a Champions League, because you're a Southampton fan as well. You've not much experience in the Champions League, like me. So it's going to be an incredible season for you to cover Aston Villa.
Yeah, it's, for a journalist, it's always the thing you want to remember when you go to these games. You cover games every week. Is what competitions do you cover? Obviously, I was very lucky to cover Premier League from a really young age, but now obviously going into Europe this season. This has been a fantastic experience, going to different places, different atmospheres, seeing how the whole European setup works away from home. It's completely different to the Premier League, and then obviously going into the Champions League now, the premium competition, and seeing who Aston Villa could play and the places they could go. It's just so exciting. And yeah, I'm very lucky that I'll be covering Aston Villa for another season, given what's on the horizon.
Well, Athletic, if they need a second person to cover Villa in the Champions League, I'm sure I'll make myself available. I've not done writing for years, but I'm sure I can make myself available for that adventure. Hypothetical question for you here. Obviously, a good result for Southampton last night could be returning to the Premier League. If the Athletic said to you, you can go back to your boyhood club Southampton back in the Premier League and cover them for the season, but you can't do Villa anymore, or you do Villa and you don't cover your boyhood team Southampton, what would you do?
I would cover Aston Villa without hesitation because there's two reasons. Because I think it's difficult covering the club you support as a journalist. It's very difficult, and it kind of made me numb towards the end of last season, given how many times Southampton would lose. But also, for me, who wants to take steps in my career and get to the highest level, Aston Villa obviously are a bigger club. They're in a better competition. There's a lot more opportunities, a lot more things I can do and write about. So, yeah, without a doubt, there's no chance of me even thinking about going back to Southampton, but I could just watch them from afar and hopefully see them in the Premier League next season too.
Yeah, I mean, good luck to them in the final against Leeds. I'd like to see Southampton come back up. They're a really good club, Southampton. I like that as an away day as well. Go in there. We should suppose talk about the game then. Let's talk about Crystal Palace first. I mean, if we'd have needed to be going to this game to get something, it would not have been ideal at all because Crystal Palace have really picked up under Oliver Glasner. They're a great watch. He's come in immediately, got a new system, identified players to play in certain positions that maybe haven't played there before. It's a young, exciting team. Lots of players plucked from the EFL. But what he's done feels very Emery-like to me. He's come in and immediately made the players that are already there better, identified a system and got them some momentum and got them ending the season really, really well. And we saw last year what ending the previous season well and going into a new season can do for you. Palace are in a really good place, and I actually think now they might be able to hold on to their bigger players in the summer. And if they do, I actually think they'll be a big threat next season.
No, I completely agree. And you always had that feeling with Palace. I've always felt this recruitment's quite strong. They get a lot of good, hidden gems. I know Eze and Elisa are the hidden gems, but at the same time, some clubs, including Southampton, didn't want to take a bet on them. They just
that's it.
Down. And Crystal Palace did. I think obviously Roy Hodgson took them to a certain point. It kept them up. It makes them very secure. But at the same time, this is not the same Crystal Palace that had Damien Delaney in 2015, 2016, quite pragmatic. This is a really good footballing team, and you saw signs of that under Vieira in his first season, and now I think under Oliver Glasner with a bit more structure. I think they're a bit tougher to beat. I think they can be a serious threat next season. As you say, there's a lot of interest in Elise. If they can keep him, as even Mateta, who seems a different player under.
I can't believe he's only 26.
No.
I thought he was older than that.
he runs like he's old. I remember him that foot race he had with Pau Torres earlier this season. I thought, oh my word, this is quite slow. Mark Gahey as well. They've got some really good players, and you do think you're right. A full pre-season under him, it'll be a really good team that could be challenging for that top 8, along with a Brighton or a West Ham. But I think it's going to be a really difficult game. It's going to be quite enterprising. I think it's going to be an end of school type of day, which is good for Villa given they've qualified. But you're right. If Villa needs to get a point there, it's probably the worst possible time to play Palace.
Yeah. Would Villa be in the market for players like Eze and Elise? Should they have release clause and Villa wish to strengthen in those positions perhaps?
It depends on the outgoings as well. They have to balance the budget. I really don't think Villa are in a position where they can just spend 60 million off the bat without anyone outgoing. That's quite notable, really. I think at least they would be obviously a huge coup or an Eze, but at the same time they've got a lot of number 10s. The right wing maybe is where you need Elise, but it's going to be difficult to sign players. Obviously, Villa would like a centre midfielder and a winger ideally, but it just depends on FFP. I know I'm bored of saying it, but also players that go out as well, and that will depend on how the type of market Villa shopping.
Sad, isn't it? Really, you qualify for the Champions League,
yeah.
You're met with restrictions. Villa will want to do business and want to bring players in, but almost hamstrung a little bit by the sounds of things at the moment. But I'm sure they'll find a way around it, and they will get players in the summer. But it'd be nice to be able to take advantage of that Champions League qualification and shopping like the nicer shops, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you saw signs of that last season, really, with Powell coming in, Yuri Tillemans, Moussa Diaby, who are playing in Champions League, international footballers. But this has been a thing, and Villa fans probably haven't wanted to hear it, but the FFP has been the elephant in the room for a couple of years now. I know Greg's wrote previously when it was covering Aston Villa about this is always going to come. They're at a crossroads, and fortunately it has come, but with Villa in the Champions League, so hopefully it will soften the blow. But at the same time, it's a really delicate financial act, and Emery keeps talking about Villa have to be intelligent in who they sign. They have to be intelligent of adhering to FFP rules, and that's the same within the club as well. So I think Villa will try and go for those ambitious players, but they've got to make it work on the books.
Yeah, because I envisaged most summers being quite similar to the last one, where you try and get in, like, you don't reinvent the wheel, but you get in 3 kind of big signings. Obviously, they did well to get Tielemans on a free. If they could explore the free market again, I think perhaps that might be something that they'll do in the central midfield area from what I'm hearing. But it's a shame, isn't it? Because you really want to be able to take advantage of that kind of new market that they're able to operate in, because they're dining at the top table now. What are we going to do team selection wise? There's a couple of things I'd like us to achieve still. I'd like us to get over the 70-point mark, and I'd like Ollie Watkins to get 20 Premier League goals. Yeah. Do you think the club is Aston Emery thinking in that way, or do you think he'll chuck in some kids and give some debuts out this weekend?
Normally Emery always says how important a game is by. They need to do a certain thing. If they win this game, they get top 4. If they win this game, it'll be another record, a home win, extend the unbeaten home record. He didn't even mention the 70-point mark. I think for him, he's already, as he said, he's already focused on next season. I think it'll be a good opportunity to, blood some young players. I said to you guys on Chad's podcast the other day, the only criticism you can level at Emery is that he's not really blooded any academy players or really given them proper game time. So these guys that have been on the bench for a while, basically been kicking their feet on the bench, not playing for them 21s as much as they would like, an Omari Kellerman, for example. I would really like to see them get an opportunity, because although the 70 points would be fantastic, if this has to be the time for these guys to really be exposed to the Premier League and play a good chunk of minutes in this game. So I'd hope that he starts once price almost, and also any opportunities to see John Duran start, I'm taking that as well.
He is absolutely your favourite player in world football. The first thing I thought when he scored that double on Monday was about you celebrating in the press box, and then you tweeted that you were celebrating in the press box. Very unprofessional. But
I always say is I'm not as unprofessional as the Olympiacos journalist who I got fairly frustrated with, given they were standing up on their tables, banging over my laptop, screaming their heads off.
Oh no!
All I did was I gave a little quiet fist bump when John Duran scored that second.
Oh, okay. Well, come on, Fiorentina. Then, if their journalists are gonna behave like that, we're all Fiorentina in a few weeks' time. I'll tell you who I think might start, and I'd like to see it. Kane Kessler-Hayden, because if Cash is out, they don't learn really much by playing concert at right back again. So I would say, give Kane Kessler-Hayden, just give him a game. Let's see what he can do. I always liked him in the under-21s and the team that won the Youth FA Cup. I always thought, he could be Villa's Trent, actually. There's quite a lot of similarities between the two of them. He's had decent loan spells in the Championship as well. Give him a game tomorrow.
Yeah, and also you probably say that his season's been basically cut in 2. He had that obviously loan spell away, and then he's come back because Villa was short on numbers, and he's barely played. So he's had a really difficult season, especially the second half. So this would be a good reward, I guess. I know football's not about sentiments, but if you're looking at a guy that's quite consistent in his training, who's not really, who's got his head down and been a reliable option on the bench for the last couple of months, he should be deserving of a start. But also, if he does play and he plays well, given Villa's propensity to sell their academy players for FFP purposes, they might raise a few extra thousands of that if they do play him. So yeah, I think it's a really good idea. I don't know if there's any other players that are in that similar bracket that could also play as well.
Wouldn't mind seeing Joe Gauchi either. Do you think we will?
I think Emery would demand to start, wouldn't he?
I don't know. There's players carrying knocks, isn't there? And I know of some of them, and I know who they are. Obviously, Martinez missed a game or two recently, as well. Just again, it's when else are you going to get a chance to, expose him to Premier League football? You don't usually get the chance to risk something like that. It's not really a risk, is it? Because we're going to finish 4th, whatever, and you've brought him in because you've obviously seen something in him. Again, I feel like maybe give him a game. It's not like Emmy's gunning for a clean sheet record, or he's played every game this season and he wants to play 38 games. Kind of feels, again, not like a no-brainer. And ultimately, Unai Emery knows a lot better than me what to do. But again, just feels like something that possibly could happen and should happen?
Yeah, I do get a feeling it's either going to be like Emery would make a lot of changes or he'll make none, and you just go, right, this is the team that we started the season. This is my best team. I always pick my best team. I'm going to set an example to the players. But yeah, I think you're completely right with Joe Gauci. He's essentially third choice, but with Robin Olsen, who it's likely that he leaves in the summer. Will Villa try and get another experienced backup, or do they feel Joe Gauci's good enough to be promoted into that number 2 position? So yeah, he would be good, but also a decision has to be made on Tim Robinham. I know Emery's talked a lot about him, but he's not really got the minutes.
No.
And in recent times when he's come on, he's been pretty sloppy. So if he starts this game, it might be that final chance to impress. But at the same time, given Villa will be trying to sign for a centre midfielder as well, his days could be numbered.
I thought it was quite telling the other night that Chambers came on in central midfield for Duggar.
Yeah,
I thought that was quite telling, wasn't it?
And yeah, listen, Chambers, that was his last kick in a Aston Villa shirt, then or last telling moment. That was fantastic. I think he's showed excellent attitude, really, considering Villa have been trying to get rid of him for the last 3 windows and not put him in their Conference League squad. For him to just come on in centre midfield, not really his position, and really be on it so sharp as soon as he comes on. Well, it's fantastic, and yeah, it shows that he has contributed in some meaningful way this season.
Yeah, I've got a lot of respect for him, actually, the way he handles himself and the way he carries himself. Got a little bit of a soft spot for Callum Chambers. I think he's a decent defender as well. I just think over the years, maybe the moves he's had haven't done him any favours. He was at Arsenal and maybe moved too early from Southampton and stagnated a little bit there, and then had a few loans, did well, and then he's come to Villa and never really cemented himself either. But I do believe there's a Premier League player in there, in Callum Chambers, in the right system for the right team. So hopefully he can move on in the summer to somewhere where he's going to play, and we wish him well. Hard to know what else to talk about really with the game, isn't it? It's a strange situation going into the last day, already knowing that we're qualified, which is a phenomenal achievement. But I much prefer this than going into the last day trying to stay up and trying to get into the playoffs and things like that Villa have had in the past.
Yeah, I also, it's the only game where I don't mind Villa are so open at the back, because it's one of those games where I think it'd be really exciting if it's a 3-3, 3-2, either way.
5-5.
5-5, yeah. Remember that December 1967, those scores. Yes,
yeah.
Bring one of those back. I think Villa will have to address their defensive shortcomings recently. It's been a real downturn since the second half of last season under Emery. But you'd like to think that with Mings hopefully coming back sometime around August, September, that would help to strengthen it. And at the same time, this could be the last game for a few of the other players. Luca Dean maybe, or Diego Carlos. These players that are on high wages who might be seen as expendable as well. So it'll be telling to see as well their reactions at full time. But the scenes of Emery hopefully going over to the away section in the far corner from the tunnel and clapping them for their incredible support this season will probably be my favourite part of the afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, the away fans are splendid. I haven't got to as many aways as I would have liked in the second half of the season, but did a fair few in the first half of the season. And our away fans are something else, a brilliant bunch of people. Yep. So loyal, have followed Villa everywhere for years and years and years, and gone to the middle of nowhere as well this season to watch games. Like they deserve all the thanks, because they're the true lifeblood of the club, in my opinion. Those away fans, they're absolutely brilliant. Did I imagine? I may have dreamt this, that Emery was talking about Cameron Archer.
Yes,
you did. Yeah.
I asked about Cameron Archer. Right, the final question. The press officer was trying to stand up, trying to hurry it up, but I said, just lost.
Oh, really?
One quick question. Cameron Archer, and yeah, he said he will be coming back at the beginning, which kind of follows what we think in terms of he'll come back, but it's a problem that Villa don't really need, and they'll have to try and move him on as quickly as they can. It's how they did the deal really for him. There's a few mechanisms in the Philogene deal as well, and in other deals they did, Aaron Ramsey, and it shows that Villa were already very wary of FFP last summer, because they were doing these deals very quickly just to ease the FFP bookable profit in any way possible. So yeah, Cameron Archer will be coming back in the summer. How long he comes back for, I'm not too sure.
The other two be coming back. You said talk about mechanisms. Will they be coming back?
No, that's not the same for them. Them coming back, but Villa have got certain clauses in their deals as well as buybacks, which means they keep they keep a significant control over the players' careers. And if Philogene, you would think, would be the player most likely to leave Hull, then Villa will have to make a decision on him as well.
I wouldn't mind Philogene coming back, let me tell you. I think he's a fantastic player. The problem Villa have got now is that they're a top 4 Champions League team and have maybe outgrown those players. If they were kind of where they were the season before, they probably would have come back and made up as members of the first team, wouldn't they? But it's difficult now because we're sitting in the top 4 and we're going into the Champions League. It's a big jump to go from Championship to Champions League in Philogene's case, and the bottom of the Premier League in the other two's case. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the summer. But yeah, I think that probably does us. Let's just we kind of did this on Chad's podcast. Let's quickly roll through our awards individually. So player of the season for you, Jacob?
Ollie Watkins for me. I think his goal record speaks for itself.
Yeah, same for me. It's got to be Ollie Watkins, but I'd say John McGinn's not far behind.
Yeah,
for me, just the fact he's played so many different positions, been the heartbeat of the side, and when he plays well, I always think that Villa tend to play well as well. Young player.
What qualifies the young player?
Oh, I don't know anymore. I don't think we can do it the same way as the PFA Awards.
I would go for Morgan Rogers. I think he's given such a lift to that, a flagging team. He's fresh, dynamic, and in that left-hand role with, Jacob Ramsey not being there throughout the season, I think he's just given something in those last couple of games. In that Bournemouth game, when Villa really needs to win that, I think he was fantastic.
Yeah, I nearly said manager of the season, but I think we all know who would win that award. Goal of the season.
We said it the other day. Obviously, John Duran got the vote. Obviously, a few shouts for the Arsenal John McGinn goal, but for me, it was the Matty Cash 19-pass move away to Burnley. He got 2 that day, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He got a double. Yeah, I like Tillemans is away at Sheffield United.
Oh yeah, but I think it's because he's Sheffield United. I'm not really giving
a strike.
Yeah, it's a great strike. Yeah.
I really love Yuri Tillemans. I just wanted to give him some form of award. I really liked his finish the other night against Liverpool as well. I think that was a really intelligent finish. Like, you wouldn't want the ball falling to anyone else in that position. He's got such good technique and strikes the ball so purely. Really got any other awards? What other awards is there?
What's your favourite moment, Dan? Is it Nottingham Forest away?
Nah, City at home for me. That win, that performance was a joke. How good was that performance? Like, I've never seen a performance like it from a Villa side against the best team in the world at the time. That was just an incredible night, I thought.
No, what was fantastic is that even as the game was going on, I was just thinking this is one of the best performances I've seen of any team in terms of their control, how slick they were. Like, this is like the optimum. And you just, when academy players would go home and coaches sometimes would send them clips of the first team, they'll send them clips of this 90 minutes. A bit like when Barcelona beat Real Madrid in that 2011, that 5-0. I had to go home and watch that game and say, this is like a peak football
unbelievable
performance. Where this game is probably what Villa Academy players will be seeing, and this is like the template, things you stick up on the wall and say, this is what we have to get to. This is our way of playing. And that night, everything came together. It was phenomenal.
I just remember them like they couldn't get out of their own penalty area. They kept clearing it, and then it just kept coming to Pau Torres, and he kept marauding forward, and we just kept keeping the pressure on. It was an absolutely unbelievable night. That probably the best I've ever seen Villa play, and I've been to a lot of Villa games in my life. Any other award? We had that disappointment of the season, didn't we? The other night.
Yeah, has for me Olympiacos' first leg. What about you?
Mings injury. Just got the season off to a bad start, and we've done well to recover from there. But I just think he's been such a big player for us, been with us along the entirety of the journey. Seeing him go down like that on the first day, he's my favourite player. Everyone knows how much I love Tyrone Mings. I doubt Tyrone Mings' his other half loves him as much as I do. So seeing him go down on the first day, it was just like, it was horrible to see him ruled out for the entirety of the season. And I do think we might have finished even higher had we got him, and I'd have been really interested to see how we'd have played with Konsa, Mings and Torres in building up in that back three. I think that would have made us an even better team this season, and I certainly think we'd have kept more clean sheets as well. Yeah. So I think that was probably the disappointment for me, the Mings injury.
What's your most improved player?
You know what? You go first.
Because I know who you'll say, but I've always said Luca Dean for me, because they've had to rely on him for so long. With Alex Moreno in and out of his team, not been great, has he? But Luca Dean, I think he got an insane amount of assists in the start of the season. Really good balance on that left-hand side. And you were talking about the back three. If Tyrone Mings was fit, maybe Luca Dean wouldn't have played at all, because they would have needed that real high and out left winger. and Luca Dean's that's not really a trait, but the fact is because they've had to rewire that back three, back four kind of thing, he's been able to play a bit more. So it's funny how things work out. And Luca Dean, if he is to go, I think we've really seen the best of him.
Yeah, I mean the answer is Leon Bailey. I think. I don't think you can answer anyone
No.
else. I am going to give a shout for how Tielemans has improved through the season because he was writ off very quickly by a certain section of fans, and we all knew he was a brilliant player, but he'd come off the back of a difficult season with Leicester. But in the second half of the season, he's been really, really critical when he's played. Even when he came back against Liverpool and he was playing half fit, he still made an impact, and we still looked a better football team with Tielemans in that midfield. So I think the answer is Bailey, and we've done him to death on all these shows, or how impressed we've been with him. But I think Tielemans does deserve a shout for how he's improved throughout the season. I don't think there can't be any other awards, Jackie. You seem to be good at coming up with them, though.
No, it's only because I've got to write every season review for the games, so they're fresh in my mind. But I think that's it, really.
Okay. Yeah, I think that does us. Certainly, the chat's come alive as we're finishing finishing the show. Stephen Buchanan thanked us for the content through the season. I think it was Stephen Buchanan. No, I can't find it. Yes, it was. Yeah. So we're not going to stop. We're going to carry on doing shows all through the summer. No doubt Jacob will appear as well. People love shows about transfers during the summer, so it'd be remiss of us not to have the Aston Villa correspondent, coming on and giving us some little bit of transfer tidbits from now and then through the week in the transfer window, Jacob.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be, hopefully it won't be too busy to start off with. You can have a little bit of a holiday.
Euros.
Euros. And then, hopefully Villa will have everyone in the door by the time they head off to the States as well, similar to what happened, I guess, last season, apart from Zaniolo.
Yeah, you'll be going to the States, won't you?
I don't think so. I think I'll be working.
Really?
I'll be working on the Euros, and there's a transfer team coming up. So there's other projects on the way. But also, if we did go to the US, it would have to be because we had some interviews or we had something that we would really want to get across that would improve our coverage. And right now, there's none of that in terms of player interviews in the pipeline.
Yep, you won't be going to the US then. I can tell you that for sure. Never mind. It was worth asking you anyway. Right then, let's go. Crystal Palace at Villa at the way. Actually, just before we go, I find this tough because we haven't really got anything to play for, and obviously all the games are at the same time. Inevitably, I will watch Villa, but really, I probably shouldn't. I should probably watch the Man City game. I might have to do that thing where you have two on, and I hate doing that. But I think that'd probably be what I have to do.
Yeah, I just think if you treat the Man City game as the important one, and almost just like finish like your dessert, who really cares about the game? Really, I know the 70 points mark's great, but just enjoy it. Hopefully, the sun's shining. Selhurst Park's I think it's a lovely stadium to watch when it's the sun's shining. So just enjoy that. Hopefully, it'll be a cricket score, and then Man City or Arsenal, depending on your preference, win the league.
I mean, I'm not massively bothered either way, but I think if I had to choose, I'd probably choose Arsenal just because it's something different, and I think it's good for the Premier League to have different teams doing different things. Like Villa qualifying for the Champions League, excellent for the Premier League, and excellent for us. Right, so that's our final preview show of the season. Unfortunately, we don't have a Conference League final to preview next week or the week after, whenever that would have been. But yeah, we're keeping the content going through the summer. I think Greg and I will be back early on next week as well, so watch out for that. Thank you for all the support through the season, all the views, all the listens. It's really, really appreciated. It's been good getting people on the chat when our stuff works, and being able to speak to people as well and do that. So it's been brilliant. I was working on something very special with Dan Rollinson for Claret and Blue yesterday as well, so watch out for that. That will hopefully be coming soon. But yeah, we'll be here all summer doing content. I don't know whether Adam knows that, but yes, Adam, we will be doing content all the way through the summer. Wherever you're taking in this podcast, this show, if you could do all the things that help us get. I keep asking for Apple podcast reviews, and no one's doing it. So if you're enjoying us and you're listening via Apple Podcast, please leave us a review and give us 5 stars. Give us a like on YouTube, and subscribe if you're not subscribed with post notifications on. Have a great Saturday, and good luck to those going to Villa Park. If they're not, they're going to Selhurst Park on Sunday.